let's talk about law school internships. Let's chitty chat and clean because I've got things to chat about, but I've got too much going on with being a full-time attorney, working as a professor and supervising attorney at a pro bono family law clinic, being a human, and just trying to survive. Here's what we're working with today. We gotta do the bed. This is really not so bad. If you've watched these before, it's been much, much worse. So let's start with the bed. Okay, law school internships. Let's chat about it. But first, I think it's important that you know what my experience or lack thereof with law school internships are. And it's important to know background. I find it very, very important to do an internship. I want to preface all of this because it can really open doors for you, create relationship mentors, you can learn things. But I did not do a single law school internship, okay? And I'll explain why in a second. But so that you know, and don't switch from this video and know that I have credibility, I have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 interns as a lawyer, and I am about to have my 8th that's going to start in a few weeks, and I am so pumped. And I have had just the absolute best experience with interns and have created my own sort of intern program with the people that I've gotten to work with, and it's been fantastic. So Carly, if you think interns are so great and internship programs are so great, why don't you do one? Good question, and I'm here with the answers. I competed for Miss North Carolina and Miss America program. While I was in law school, I held the title of Miss Cleveland, Miss Greensboro, Miss Raleigh, and Miss Dunn. Miss Dunn was actually after law school was over. So all 3 years of law school, I was competing, and once you compete and win your local title, if you don't know anything about the Miss America program, then you go on and you compete at Miss North Carolina. If you win Miss North Carolina, you go to the big one, to Miss America. So that's what I was doing during the semester and preparing while I was in law school. And then Miss North Carolina every year is the 3rd week of June. So you have to take off an entire week to compete for Miss North Carolina. Actually, some of the years it was closer to a week and a half. Therefore, what internship program was going to hire me? And I was going to be like, by the way, I'm going to be gone for an entire week and a half to 2 weeks of a 2-month program. And one problem I have with internship programs is that all the ones, I did apply for one that was paid my first year and I did not get it. That was a whole nightmare of an interview, and maybe one day I'll tell that story. But I felt very strongly that my time was worth something. My background, I have a degree in applied mathematics, and I did an internship with General Electric in upstate New York, and they paid me like $25 an hour before I even graduated with that degree. So I had a math degree and was working on a law degree, and I was like, what do you mean you're not going to pay me anything? So I felt very strongly that my time would be better suited preparing for Miss North Carolina and enjoying the summer, because I would only have 2 more summers left, because the 3rd summer of law school, you're studying for the bar exam, and I was fortunate enough to be in the position that I could do that. The other little tidbit, and if you've seen my other videos, you already know this, but let's take a look at the kitchen and we'll chat about it. This really upsets people, but I went into law school not wanting to be a lawyer. Don't ask me what the whole plan was. Again, that's a story, that's a video for another time. But that was part of why it didn't matter if I did a summer internship unpaid in a law firm, because I didn't plan to work in a law firm. I didn't plan to be a practicing attorney. I wanted to be a licensed attorney, and then I wanted to do something else. So the importance during law school of me spending my summer unpaid was just like, it made no sense to me logically. So I did other things. I worked at the law school library, so I still made a little bit of money. And I prepared for Miss North Carolina. Spoiler alert, you don't have to go looking and find out I never won Miss North Carolina, but I always thought, if I were to be successful in that endeavor, then obviously it would be worth the time invested. The winner gets, I don't even remember the number. It's either $10, $15, or $20,000 that you can go towards your student loans, which I had. So that would have been totally worth it versus an unpaid internship all summer and not competing in Miss North Carolina. Was worth the risk, worth the gamble. I did win several $1,000s, I think over time, between 10 and 15, that helped pay down my student loans. So for the naysayers, I do think that that was worth it over having an internship, because guess what? here I am now. I own my own law firm. I have my own interns, and I want to talk a little bit about what I have seen be successful for interns and what you should look for before committing to an internship program, especially if it's unpaid. Do not do an unpaid internship that you're not actually gaining experience or knowledge, and it's not with a reputable firm that, at least if you're not getting educational experience from it, you're getting like clout, you're getting recognition. There's going to be respect that you were at that particular firm.
So the hardest part is figuring out what kind of internship you want to do, because you might not know what area of law. So instead of thinking specifically about what area of law you want to be in, ask yourself what kind of work you want to do. Do you think that you're going to want to be in a courtroom? Do you think you're going to want to be doing pro bono work where you're going to get to advocate for clients for free? Do you want to work in the public sector? Do you want to work in government? Do you want to be a public defender? So ask yourself courtroom work, contract work, pro bono work. Like, think more broadly. Don't think criminal versus family law. So I'm a family law attorney. Unfortunately, what I didn't know, oh my gosh. So I am starting my sourdough journey. This is Estella. She's my starter, and today is day 3. So she'll get her second feed today. She's not going to go away in the cabinet, so it's going to stay a little bit messy, but that's Estella. This is our little room temperature water. So we're going to keep this over here. And so, fun fact about Estella, she has an alter ego. It's Cruella. If you know, you know. So if she's a bad girl, if she gets burnt, if she's feisty, she's Cruella. Otherwise, she's Estella. And obviously, I'll keep you updated on the sourdough journey as we go, because of course I need a new hobby. I need something else to fill my time. It's actually, like, there's so much work and measurements, and anyway. So ask yourself what type of law you want to see more of. If you have absolutely no idea, that's also great. You can go in with an open mind and try to find out what you do like. Especially after your first year of law school, you have no idea. Like, I had no idea. I didn't know until 2-3 years out of law school what I actually wanted to do. Think a little bit more about, like, what type of practice you want to see more of. Is it the practice inside your courtroom? Is it the practice of drafting wills or estates, or looking up title, or doing real estate stuff? Like, don't take it too seriously. After your first year, I'd say it's going to be hard to get a paid internship. There's some that exist. Those are probably people that you know, family connections, or if you just get lucky and you find somewhere that has a full, robust internship program. Big law type internships, those exist. And for those, you are going to have probably payment involved. So if your law school does on-campus interviews, things like that, that's usually where you're going to have those paid internship opportunities. But otherwise, especially in your first year out of law school, into law school, you're going to have a hard time finding something that is going to pay you. So if you're not going to get paid, let's just take that off the table. Let's just say you get a paid internship, you're lucky. But you, unlike me, are in law school and you want to be a lawyer. So you're trying to put your best foot forward. You're thinking about that resume. You're thinking about that first job interview, job offer, turning in that resume. And what I want to tell you is this. What you can actually say and quantify from your internship is so much more important than how many places you've worked and things like that. So, for example, I'm in family law, and my interns, I tell them, I'm like, you should be tracking every complaint that you touch, every verification, every court filing, the types of complaints. So there's an absolute divorce, there's alimony, spousal support, equidistribution, child custody, child support. There's also CPS court, Child Protective Services court. Have you done anything there? Track the type of cases you work on. And when you go into that interview, and you should put this on your resume too, it's funny because attorneys hate numbers, but you know what they like? They do like you to quantify things. They don't want you to do math, but they want to see numbers and stats. They do like that. So, for instance, I didn't get to do this in internships because I didn't have any, but when I leveraged my first job in family law for my second job, I went in, and I was only at the first one for 6 months, and I don't remember the numbers. I'm making these up, so don't go look at my court record and tell me I'm crazy or I'm lying, because I don't remember at this point. This was several years ago, but I did find out, and I quantified how many billables I did. So also, if you're an intern,
think about if you were a billable attorney, like track your hours, even if the firm doesn't require you to do that, because it's a good habit to get into and to learn what billable work is. Track that and say like equivalent to, 120 hours a month, which would be a pretty good amount for an associate attorney or whatever. So I knew my billables. I was billing at my last firm like I think between 115 and 135 in any given month. So I like averaged that out, and it was like my average billable per month is blah, 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 which is equal to this much a year. At my billable rate, that's this much money that I would be bringing your firm. Know those things, quantify it. So even as an intern, you can do that and be like, find out what the billable rate is. Do you bill at $250 an hour? Do you bill at $350? Do you bill at $550? And be able to quantify those things. Like make it easy for the employer to see why you have value, because your internship is to leverage yourself into a job. Let's be honest. That is the point. That is the reason behind doing an internship. So I want to quantify things, but back to the types of law. So I went through and I knew exactly how many cases I had filed in all the different areas of family law, and was like, I did, half a dozen of these, and I did these, and I even, like, for me, the big one was, I did an equitable distribution trial, which is division of assets in family law, and I'll just tell you, it is rare that they go to trial. They're extremely expensive. You have to do alternate dispute resolution before you get to trial, at least in North Carolina, so typically I go to mediation. Most of the time it settles at mediation, or if it doesn't settle at mediation, it settles after. Like, it is rare that these go to trial. My colleague at the last firm I was at, he's been practicing over 20 years, and I think he had only done 2. And I did one in my first year and a half of practice. So, like, I leveraged that. It's like, I've done an equitable distribution trial, and, like, these were the results. So, as an intern, keep track of the cases you worked on. This is turning into a little more than a chitty chat and cleaning, because I didn't have that much to clean today, which is great. But I do have errands to run, so I'll just keep chitty chatting about this. I'll get ready, and I've got a therapy appointment, so take you along with me on some of those errands so we can continue the rant. Okay, so you want to quantify and you want to be able to talk about it. So make sure you're doing that. Now, as far as like, I understand you might just have to take an internship to take an internship, okay? So don't, especially if you're only finished with your first year of law school, it might just be important to take it. I've worked at really bad places, and I've learned just as much from working with and for terrible firms than I have at the good ones. You learn what you don't want and what you don't want to do. I think that's why the very first law firm that I went to, there's so many red flags, and I ignored all of them and just proceeded anyway. And I think had I done an internship and had a little bit of more of an understanding that, yes, there are some really bad law firms and you've got to beware and you should trust your gut, I think I might not have taken that job and moved cities and been miserable. But that's my story, that's my path, and I really wouldn't change it. But I think sometimes, like, a bad internship, you're going to be there for 2 months, you can leave. And they don't even have to know you don't like it. You just don't apply again. You just don't go there again. It's totally fine. Whereas, taking a job and moving cities is a lot more serious. So there is value in being at a bad law firm. And if that's all you can get, then just go in, eyes wide open, and be like, okay, this was not, whoa. I got a new camera, so I'm kind of playing with it. There might be some little glitches this first time using it. I actually, fun fact, today I'm doing a promo shoot. That's why I kind of look all crazy. I self-tan and I'm letting it sit because I didn't do it yesterday because I'm a procrastinator. So I've got therapy, and then I've got to come back and do my hair and makeup. We're going to do a promo shoot for my new podcast, Gabble Gab. TBD. We'll drop more info on that. But ultimately, when you are considering internships and you are interviewing, let's talk about what to look for, what those red flags are, so that you can be aware and you don't end up like me and ignore them and then realize, oh my gosh, I've made a horrible mistake. Again, with an internship, it's really not the end of the world and you can learn a lot from it, but you should at least go in with eyes wide open and know, okay, this is probably going to be a crazy town and I'm never going to want to work here. And so it's nice to know that ahead of time. So We'll talk about that and some of the green flags that you want to look for. Flag number 1, if you ask, what am I going to be doing this summer? What are some of the responsibilities? What does the day-to-day look like? And they really have no idea, then that is a red flag, because that means that they are not taking this internship seriously. They don't have an internship program, and a lot of firms don't. And that's okay for them to not have like a full, what is my camera doing? It's okay for them to not have a full, robust program. Only like very large scale firms typically do, but you want to know that they've actually thought about your presence. And when you get there the first day, it's not going to be like, oh, I gotta find something for you. You want to be needed, because otherwise you are probably gonna end up in an office doing nothing all summer, and maybe you'll get some research projects, but you're not actually gonna grow as a future lawyer. You're not gonna learn anything, and you're probably not gonna have a lot of direct contact with the attorneys and with the attorney that hired you.